and welcome to Larry's Topics. Today we're going to discuss the forgotten the forgotten rule of the curse of Dracula Untold. Yes, I'm not a horror buff or anything like that, and I just grew up with horror. And I usually watch a lot of thrillers and that, and I can usually guess a lot of the answers to a lot of your modern slasher movies before even seeing the end of it. And thrillers. And I was looking up reviews on the movie Dracula Untold, and there's brief explanation for it, but don't get me wrong, I'm no horror movie buff. I know there's people out there that probably know and remember a lot more stuff than me about movies, but I was looking at these reviews and that, and discussions, what few there are, and one of the things they in their reviews they don't explain about the curse is, well, I think it'd be like you'd consider it like the primary what did you say, primary cornerstone of the curse. For 3 days, if he goes without drinking any human blood, he will become mortal, hopefully having vanquished all his enemies, and he'll be free of the curse. Right? Right. But let's backtrack just a little. People forget a key thing about that. And I'll go a little further into the curse itself. What people don't get is, well, the original vampire stuck in Broken Tooth Mountain cave was a Roman. I think he was a nobleman. He was from the Roman Empire, I know for sure. And he was tricked by a demon that promised him all this power and that. And the man didn't tell him he'd become prisoner of that cave. And the demon obviously didn't tell him because he was promising him all the power and that, and obviously he needed the power for something he considered important to him. And so obviously the vampire drank human blood while he possessed the power of the vampire, and was cursed to go to the cave and spend eternity there, or until he found a suitable replacement. Which he's convinced he has when he meets Dracula, or Prince Vlad the Tevish. And obviously it doesn't go in great detail, but obviously it's stipulated that if you drink blood on the third day, on the end of the third day, you are a vampire, but eventually you'll be compelled to the original vampire's curse would be broken, and Dracula would be compelled to return to the cave. And then I will get back to that there by jumping back to the fact that most people forget. That is a stipulation of the curse. It's not, he calls it breaking his curse, but actually it's not a breaking, it's a transfer. You find someone of similar qualities and whatever, they can take the burden of your curse or punishment and you can transfer it, do it. That's basically what he does. And Dracula, you know, upholds the oath not to drink blood until the very end. I mean, it's just as dawn's just about to crack over the hillside and bathe the area that his dying wife, that he could not save, begs him to drink her blood, take that power, and, you know, go save our son. And he agrees to do so. But what people are probably wondering with that concept, if they actually thought about it, is, okay, then it's the end of the third day, it's the start of the fourth day, why isn't he compelled to go back to the cave? Which people, I think is funny, don't even think about. And I only seen the movie a few times, and I already had the answer when I saw it, because my nephew, who likes horror movies, even brought that up. He's like, well, why didn't he have to go back to the mountain? It says that's part of his curse. If he drinks blood by the end of the third day, he will have to return to the mountain. And then there's that loophole. He moves out. Sun still hasn't completely covered the area. So it's still, sun's still rising. So he's still in that loophole. He's still on the final stretches of it, of the curse. And what does he do? He goes to his people, broken and beaten, what few survivors there are, maybe a small handful. And he, knowing the curse, I don't know if he thought about it at the time because he was just filled with so much rage, but what he did was he passed the curse. He bit people. He bit someone. And you're telling me out of that small handful there wasn't someone ideal enough to go and take place of the curse? Yeah. There's somebody there that's going to be, or he didn't bite him, he fed them his blood, or bit him, I can't remember, but he transferred his power to that small group. And in that small group, boom, what is there? The chance of someone taking his place. Automatically, in doing so, the curse is transferred to somebody else. Most likely the last person, either the first person that drank his blood or the last person. Which takes that curse, it leaves the first vampire, it skips over Dracula, and I'm assuming it would either land on the first person he turns, or the last. But now that it's skipped Dracula, and most people still don't understand that, because they never even bring that point up, and Nathan says, okay, well, why doesn't that person have to go? And I said, well, stop thinking about it. The curse has been renewed. It's been passed on to someone else. And they have 3 days. 3 days. In which to be free before they have to climb the mountain or turn into bat or whatever and go back into the mountain and spend eternity until they find some other stupid fool. And Dracula destroys the curse by doing this completely, because after he kills the Sultan and frees his son, and his right hand man, who was his thinker, sat there and said, okay, you know what you have to do. Yeah, you're reborn, so to speak. You cannot hold yourself down with your mortal ties. You're free of them. And so the only logical thing to do is kill your son and set out, rule, and do whatever you want. But, see, he stops him. He sends his son with the monk, or a friar, and the huge qualification for that was, because of that, he was free of the curse, right? He saved his son, sent him away. Then he raises his hand and he parts the storm clouds to burn up and die with the rest of the vampires. He's already free of the curse. He broke that and passed it to someone else, because he turned somebody else. But he destroys the curse completely in one of two ways. One, if I remember correctly, if the stipulation is for the first person to drink his blood, which I'm assuming was his right-hand man, of course, his viceroy, his chancellor, whatever the heck he is, automatically, right there, he stakes him. Right there. Curse is null and void. It's broken. He took the loophole and he ripped it in half, basically shook it in the face of the vampire and the demon that started the whole thing to begin with. But if it was the last person he turned, guess what? They're dead. He killed them. He burned them all up in the sunlight. And because he was so strong, as it was, because he was technically the first free vampire, he held off his fate long enough to see his son be whisked away to safety. And in doing so, he falls to the ground and starts to finish burning up. But he's saved by a nutcase obsessed with him, because he's seen his power and he wants to serve him for payment of the power he has, or even a similar variable of that power, which would become known as the legendary Renfield, eating bugs and crap. Bugs, mice, small creatures. And what people don't grasp is that's how he doesn't have to return to the mountain. And that's how anyone he turns from that point on, there's no curse. The curse is gone. He took the curse and he tore it in half, and he took the remnants and he pretty much shook it in the face of the vampire and the demon that made the first vampire. And it's sad is a lot of people forget, and that's like a huge plot point in our story. Yeah, plot point in the story. I think if they had maybe gave like a foreshadowing thought to it, brought up that part, your less knowledgeable movie fans would have said, hey, wait, why didn't he go back to the mountain? That would have been like a huge thing that I don't think anybody else really noticed, except for maybe a small handful of people that actually were paying attention to the movie and not just there to watch people get hacked up and tore up. And it's sad, it didn't do as good as it should have. And I think his name's Chris Evans. Or is that no? Yeah, wait, no. Something Evans did Dracula, and I watched some of the stuff that he went through to make that movie, and that man earned a right for there to be more sequels. I mean, it was a very physically demanding role for him, which he delivered beautifully, and, I don't know what movies were knocking it out of any placement on the charts of movies, but it's a very good movie. Storyline's good. The fact that they touched once and never brought it up again, him, not, maybe brings it, no, I don't think he brings it up to his wife even. They touch on it once and that's it. They expect you to memorize it. Well, you're not going to memorize it if you're not a horror movie fan, and think of stuff like that. But yeah, he broke the curse. I mean, he literally broke the curse by tearing the loophole in half and shaking it in their face saying, ha, I beat you. Without actually doing it, but that's the huge unnoticed plot hole in the movie that my nephew pointed out and I had to explain to him. And I explained it within my first time of watching the movie. All your movie reviews, all your endings explained. Nobody ever explains that key, crucial ingredient to the rule of the curse. And not only that, they never explained how he beat it. And that is how he beat the curse. This was Larry's Topics. Thank you. Have a good day. And God bless and stay well.